Okay, this is area of a triangle and parallelogram. So let's talk about area of a triangle first. Okay, so these are your IXL problems. Area of a triangle, one thing that we want to understand is how do we get, so here's our formula, 1/2 base times height. How do we get these two measurements? Okay, on a standard right triangle, like something like this, it's fairly straightforward. We'd say this is the base, this is the height, and we multiply it out. Okay, but as the triangles start to look different, maybe something like that, how do we find the base here? Well, the base here would be this distance, right? And the height would be you have to drop a perpendicular down right here and find the height. Okay, and then lastly, if we drew a triangle like this, you have to visualize this one because there's no right angle. You can't drop a right angle down from the top inside the triangle. So here's your base, but your height would be an imaginary line that doesn't exist over here on the left. So here would be the height of that triangle. So it still has to be a perpendicular drop down from the top, but it does not have to be inside the triangle. So sometimes kids get confused on that. Okay, so that's one thing for area of a triangle. And then area of a parallelogram, all right, I'm just going to abbreviate that, is just the area is equal to the base times the height. That's it. Okay, so let's look at a couple problems on there. These should be pretty straightforward. So on this problem here, we have the area is equal to 1/2 of the base, which is 4, times the height, which is 3. The area is equal to 1/2 of 4, which is 2, and 2 times 3 is 6 yards squared. Okay. Get in the habit of writing the units, guys. It is important. That's one of the problems with these IXLs is they put the units in for you. So you're going to get kind of lax on that, but just make sure you understand it's very important to put your units in as you're describing these problems. Okay, so here's one that's a little bit tougher. All right, this is what I talked about. So what's the area of the shaded region here? So we have 1/2 the base, which is 10, times the height, which is 14. Okay, now we had to find that height, right, by dropping that imaginary red line down. So if that line's not given to you, you have to find that. Okay, and there'll be enough information for you to find that. Okay, so 1/2 times 10 is 5, and I'll write that out. 5 times 14, so my area is 70 square meters. Okay, and when you say square meters, that's what that means, meters squared. Okay, area is always a squared term, volume is always a cube term, okay, and circumference, linear distance, is always just the singular form, okay. And then lastly, a parallelogram, okay. Well, maybe not last, I think I have one more. What is the area of this? So the area is just equal to the base times the height, so my area is equal to 15 times 19. So very straightforward on these types of problems. Nothing crazy to look at. You just are multiplying stuff out, and we get area is equal to 285 centimeters squared. That would be your answer. Okay, so the area of that parallelogram, the shaded green. All right, so base height. So pretty straightforward on triangles, and the next unit is just doing it off a grid. So I can go right into that. So let's, because that was pretty quick. So we're just looking for area and perimeter of this rectangle, right? And we're doing it from a grid. So the key on these guys is to make sure if you're counting squares that each square is valued at whatever you're counting it by. So whenever you look at a graph on this one, we're going up by ones, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So each square is worth 1, and each square is worth 1 here. Okay, so the area of this guy here is just going to be equal to the base times the height, right? Which is 1 times 3. So the area is equal to 3 square units. So we call that units squared. So when there's nothing that we're measuring like inches or yards, we just call it units squared. And that should make sense, right? Because the area here is 1, 2, 3 squares. Okay. And then they want to know the perimeter. So for perimeter, we're just counting the outside, right? And the perimeter is equal to 1 plus 3 plus 1 plus 3. Or you could do 1 plus 3 is 4 and double it. But either way you get, it's just 8 units. Okay, so that's how you do area and perimeter. Just keep track of counting. If you have something in the negative, you're still just counting positive spaces on each side. So that's area and perimeter using a grid. And that's it on those. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions, let me know.